Round 2 of Leagues Cup action continues this week on Wednesday and Thursday with 10 more games after we saw Round 2 start on Tuesday. Now we have some more games coming up, 6 on Wednesday, 4 more on Thursday. I'm going to cover all those games in my Leagues Cup predictions, and I'll include 7 of them split into 3 parlays for this week's best bets. And if you enjoy this content, be sure to help out the channel, give the video a like, and subscribe to the channel, or both. Now let's get into it. Charlotte FC and Cruz Azul on Wednesday. Urla Antuna became the league's top scorer in helping Cruz Azul to the final of the most recent season in Mexico. The Cruz Azul attack has been bolstered of late as well with ex-Atlanta United striker Georgios Giacomakos, who already has 2 goals and 1 assist in just 3 games. And that's powered Cruz Azul to the top of the table after 4 games. They're 3-1-0, scoring 9 times, and they've allowed just 1 goal. If you go all the way back to March, and in any competition, Cruz Azul has only 2 losses, and those have come versus the likes of Club America, Monterrey, and they are 9-5-2. In 9 of those 16 games, they've also kept clean sheets. They'll face MLS's second-ranked defensive team in Charlotte in this Matchday 2 game. The Crown, Charlotte, have been rolling. They had a road win over Cincinnati. They had road draws in Columbus and Austin in recent games. But on Matchday 1, they fell 1-0 to a suddenly hot Philadelphia Union team. What's more concerning is that they had 0 shots on target in that game. Charlotte games are usually close. They have just 1 win in 6, though, but they've allowed more than 1 goal just twice in their last 7 games. This is one of the rare instances in this tournament where we have a MLS team and a LigaMX team that have already met. They met in this tournament last year, and it was in fact a tight game that ended 0-0, with Charlotte going on to win in PKs. This time around, I think Cruz Azul is probably going to come out on top, but both teams play tight defense. Charlotte certainly had some good results of late. This could be tight. For my parlay, all I'm going to do is ask for Cruz Azul to get on the score sheet and to score over 0.5 goals. And we'll move along here to Santos Laguna and DC United. Santos Laguna, they have just 1 point and 1 goal scored through 4 games in the Apertura. They're 0-1-3, and they've been outscored 6-1, sitting in 16th. But they've struggled long before the start of this season. They're now winless in 10, and they have just 4 wins in 22. They've been held off the score sheet in 6 of their past 7, and in 11 of their past 22. DC came out firing, taking a 3-1 lead in Atlanta on Matchday 1 in this tournament. Then Atlanta fought back. They drew 3-3, but it was DC going on to win in PKs, highlighted by Alex Bono stopping Bartosz Schlich on a PK in regulation and also in PKs again to get that win. These teams, meanwhile, have never met. DC is a hard team for me to trust. They don't keep very many clean sheets. They have none in 20 games, and that's going all the way back to March 30th. They do usually score, doing so in 6 of 7 for a total of 14 goals in 7 games. They had been winless in 11, but they now have wins of 2-1, 3-1, and then Saturday's 3-3 draw, and going on to win in PKs. Santos Laguna have conceded in 10 straight games. DC games are great, both teams to score games. That certainly is an option here for me, although Santos Laguna has also been very poor. DC rarely keeps clean sheets. It's tough to say. I'm just going to pick, again, just DC to get a goal, but certainly I wouldn't be against both teams to score. And next up, FC Dallas and Juarez, another MLS LigaMX matchup here. These teams have never met before. Dallas is also a hard team to trust. They were winless in 4. They won 2, they lost 2, they won 1, they lost 2, and they won 2, and they drew away to New England 1-1 in their last game in MLS. Then in Leagues Cup, they went to St. Louis and they lost 2-1 on Matchday 1. That team had been struggling before that. Peter Musa had been scorching hot, scoring 5 goals in recent games, but he did miss a PK in that game. Dallas has been a more attacking team of late. They've scored in 7 straight, 11 of 12 games, and also in 20 of 22 in all competitions. It's hard to know what to expect on a game-to-game basis with them. Like I said, they did just lose in St. Louis. They've been up and down. They're 3-1-5 in their past 9, so kind of all over the place on a game-to-game basis. At home, though, they've only lost once, and that game was against Cincinnati in their last 11 in all competitions. Juarez, meanwhile, they've yet to win this season after a 2-2 draw, 3-2 loss, 2-1 loss, and 2-1 loss in Mexico. And if you go back into last season, they have just 5 wins in 31 LigaMX games, and their defense has been poor all season, and that has continued. They were poor all of last season, and it still continued this season. They've given up 10 goals in 4 games, and they've only kept 2 clean sheets in 47 games. That's just wild. It's almost as close to a lock as you can have that Juarez will allow a goal. So Dallas, if I was picking a winner, it would be Dallas. But like we said, Dallas's record has not been great of late. What I do think looks to be very safe is just Dallas to score. We can do 3 teams in this parlay just to simply score. It won't pay a lot, but it looks pretty straightforward. Dallas to score, DC to score, Cruz Azul to score. That's not going to pay a lot. Minus 152 at Bet365. It would be slightly better price usually at Caesars, Currently, I just don't see the DC to score option listed, but if it pops up, you could probably get a little bit better odds there. Let's move into parlay number 2 on Wednesday, Tigres and Puebla. As usual, Tigres is off to a strong start. They're 3-1-0, undefeated, and third in Apertura. This after a 1-0 win, 1-1 draw, 1-0 win, and 3-0 win. In all competitions, they have just 4 losses in 16, and those losses have come against top teams like Club America, Monterrey, Columbus, and Pachuca. Now, it's not just the attack that shines for Tigres, led by Andre Pierre-Gignac. They feature center back Guido Pizarro, who also won LigaMX's Best Defender Award last season as well. Puebla sits down in 13th. They're 1-1-2. They've been outscored 8-5 in the Apertura. On Matchday 1, they went to Miami, and even with Messi out injured, they allowed goals early and late in the 9th and the 72nd, and they lost 2-0. That's not shocking. Puebla don't win often. They have only 2 wins in 24 games. Saturday notwithstanding, they do often score. They've done so in 10 of 13, but they're a mess defensively, allowing multiple goals in 17 of their last 19. Head-to-head with Tigres. Tigres won 3-2 in March, 3-0 in December, and the teams drew 2-2 in November. Tigres is undefeated at 4-2-0 in this matchup in recent years. I'm going to pick Tigres to get the win in this game and pair it up with the result in San Jose and the LA Galaxy. It's the Cali Clasico. There's been 3 meetings already this season in this rivalry. March 24th, won 3-1 by LA. April 24th, won 4-3 by LA. And June 29th, won 3-0 again by LA. So LA is 3-0-0 versus San Jose this season, outscoring them 10-4. Galaxy are undefeated versus San Jose in 7. They've scored 3 goals or more in 4 straight. The Quakes may be slightly improved, though, this time around. They do have their star goalkeeper, Daniel, back from injury. This rivalry is one of the highest scoring in MLS history, and this is just a small snapshot of why. I just touched on the scores from this season, which have been high scoring. If we look at some other scores, we have 3-2, 2-2, 2-1, 3-2, 3-2, 2-1, and 3-1 in other recent seasons. Now, Matchday 1, San Jose played Chivas Guadalajara in front of a record 50,000 plus, even though they were mostly Chivas fans, and they welcomed back ex-player Cade Cowell, MLS's worst team, took the lead in the first half with a cross from Espinoza to Ibobasi in just the 6th minute, getting San Jose on the board. While the first half was mostly San Jose, Chivas piled on the pressure in the second half. And then San Jose's top center back, Rodriguez, was held on the sidelines after he was injured and was held off. And while he was off, Chivas did finally break through late in that game, late in stoppage time, 98th minute, to tie the game 1-1 and go to PKs. It would be San Jose, though, that emerged victorious. Cowell's homecoming was ruined as he missed the PK. San Jose won 4-3 on spot kicks. This game had cards all around. 4 yellows to Chivas, 5 to San Jose. Even Wando, now coach on the coaching staff, saw red on the sidelines for San Jose before the PKs. Stats-wise, Chivas led in possession, 64%. Shots, 22-7. Shots on target, 6-2. Now, meanwhile, for the Galaxy, they've not played yet in this tournament. They're at the top of the West in MLS, though, 2nd overall. They have just 5 losses in 26 games. They've won 9 of 12. They scored multiple goals in 4 of 6, multiple in 8 of 12, plus 3 goals in back-to-back games. They have recent scores of a 3-2 win, 3-2 win, 2-0 loss, 2-1 win, and a 2-1 loss. That certainly can make the case that a bet on both teams to score an over 2.5 could be made here. A winner, got to pick LA. There's where we've got the best team in the West against the worst team in the West here. So it's got to be LA, although certainly San Jose wants to break this streak of continually losing to LA at some point. So let's be safe. We'll still bet on goals, not pick a winner, but let's go over 2.5 goals in this parlay. So San Jose, LA, over 2.5. Tigres the win, coming in at plus 108 odds. We've got one more game on Wednesday I won't include in the bets, but let's just run down some quick stats. We've got Nashville and Mazatlan. Nashville's lost 6 straight for the first time ever, and they'll be debuting their 3rd coach of the season in this game. BJ Callahan takes over for interim Rumba Muntali. Callahan was previously an assistant under U.S. coach Greg Berhalter with the national team. During this 6-game slide, Nashville had outscored 16-3, allowing multiple goals in each of those games. Nashville has a big defensive piece missing as well, with Walker Zimmerman away in the Olympics. Mazatlan has collected just 1 point, scored just 2 goals in their first 4 games in Mexico. They're 17th out of 18 teams in Liga MX. Their score lines have been a 1-0 loss, 2-2 draw, 3-0 loss, 2-0 loss. Go back into last season, they're winless in 6. They're now winless in 7 after a 1-0 loss to New England on Saturday in this tournament. New England's also a struggling team in MLS. Mazatlan rarely keeps clean sheets. They've only done so 3 times in 22 games, 0 times in their last 7. These teams have never met, and I think there are just too many question marks here. Neither team's in great form. We have a new coach in Nashville. I'm going to stay away from this. Maybe it's a both team to score. Maybe it's Nashville getting a win at home. But I think we have 2 bad teams and a team with a new coach. So let's just steer clear of that. And let's go into Thursday here and the next group of games. Starting with FC Cincinnati and Queretaro. Cincinnati are 2nd in the East. They're 5 points back of Miami for 1st and 3rd in the Supporter Shield race. They enter Leagues Cup, though, on a rare slide for them, losing 3 straight, losing 3-1, 1-0, and 3-1. They've given up a goal now in 11, have now conceded 11 of 12, and defense is a concern. They've got Zavaleta and Miazga injured, and Robinson away at the Olympics. Luciano Costa is back from a brief injury. He did miss out just before the All-Star break. With him, they're always a threat to score, since he has scored in 21 of 23 recent games across all competitions, and since they do have a lot of injuries on defense and players missing, they've also added a new center back in Josie Awazai, a Nigerian international. On Matchday 1, Queretaro were outplayed by New York City FC, but they held on and went on and got the draw 0-0. New York City had 66% possession, 19 shot attempts. Both teams did have 5 shots on target. Both teams got points as the game went to PKs. New York City getting that extra point, winning 4-3. Queretaro comes into this tournament in awful form, though. They're 0-4 to start the Apertura. They outscored 10-3. They have losses of 2-1, 3-1, 2-0, and 2-1. That's a lot of losses, a lot of overs, and a lot of both teams to score bets. Further back, they're winless in 8. They've given up a goal in all 8 of those games. The teams have never met. But for me, this looks like a great spot for Cincinnati at home to get back on the winning ways against Mexico's worst team. So let's go Cincinnati to win in leg 1 of a parlay that I'll pair together with Toluca and the Chicago Fire. It's the first meeting ever between these two teams. On Matchday 1, the Fire arrested Hugo Kuipers, but his replacement, Georgios Koutsias, opened the scoring for Chicago versus Sporting Kansas City. SKC did soon tie it up after. Willie Agata went on to get the winner in the 76th minute, proving to be enough to get the SKC 2-1 win. Fire, kind of in mixed form, up and down. They're 4-3-5 in their last 12, but they only have 1 win in 5, and they've scored just 5 goals in those 5 games. Since April 27th, they have just 2 clean sheets in 16 games. One of those did, though, come against Cincinnati, so they don't get many, but when they do, it was against one of the top teams. Toluca is still undefeated in the Apertura so far. They're 2-2-0. They've scored 7. They've allowed just 3. Paulinho has scored 3 of those 7 goals and is tied for 3rd in LigaMX scoring right now. Toluca didn't end last season in top form. They were winless in 3. But if you look further back in their games this season and in their last 25 games in all competitions, they only have 5 losses, and those have come to Chivas, 1 to Cruz Azul, 1 to Club America, 1 to Herediano in the Champions Cup. In the recent transfer window, they've also bolstered their team quite a bit, spending over $25 million. 8 of those $1 million going to Paulinho, Bruno Mendes from a Uruguay international center back, left back Jesus Gallardo from Monterrey, and midfielder Frankie Amaya from the Red Bulls for another $4 million there. So they've added all kinds of new pieces to their team. Given the current form of both and how the Fire elected to do some rotation in this tournament on Matchday 1, if I was picking a winner, I'd look to Toluca. For this parlay, you could simply throw in Toluca to score, over 1.5, maybe both teams to score. Let's go over 1.5 because it's just asking Cincinnati to win, and Chicago Toluca over 1.5 gets close to even money, a -108. And we have 2 more games here that I will leave out, but also touch on. RSL and Atlas, 3rd in the West. MLS, RSL, they're winless in 3. They are going to be without Golden Boot leader Chicho Arango, who's suspended for violating the league's anti-harassment policy. Now, losing his 17 goals is a big hit, but they've still scored 34 more, with 13 of those coming from Andres Gomez. RSL has just 2 home losses this season, and both have come versus some of the top teams in the West, in Colorado and the LA Galaxy. There's no competitive history between these teams, but Atlas won 2-1 in a 2022 friendly. In the Apertura, Atlas started strong, 2-2-0, undefeated so far. On Saturday, in their first game of this tournament against Houston, both teams put 7 shots on target, but only Rivaldo Lozano found the back of the net in the 83rd minute, giving Atlas a 1-0 win. Go back to the end of last season, Atlas is now 4-3-1, and they've scored in 13 of 14. So this looks like they have been in good form. Could be a both teams to score. Certainly RSL has been one of the top teams, but they're missing their best player. I might lean to go to a both teams to score, but I'm just going to skip it. And we have one more game here, Portland and Colorado. The Timbers got their Leagues Cup campaign started on Sunday versus Club Leon. For all the scoring threats on the Timbers, it was an unexpected man, Zach McGraw, a defenseman, getting 2 headers off of corners, both coming from an Evander, that gave Portland a 2-1 win. Timbers are 9-2-3 in their past 14, and all 3 of those losses have come on the road. They'll be hosting here. They've piled up 31 goals in those 14 games. They've scored multiple goals in 8 straight and also in 12 of 14. The 4th place Rapids get things started here, being very fresh. They've been off since July 20th, 11-day break. That last game was a 3-2 win over RSL in the Rocky Mountain Cup. Colorado has only 2 losses in 9. They've scored 21 goals in those 9 games, and they've actually scored in 24 of 26 games overall this season. But they've also given up a goal in 21 of those and also in 7 straight. Not surprisingly, that makes bets on both teams to score a hot bet. Rapids games hitting that both teams to score, have gone 5-0 and 19-7 on the season. They're going to be missing, though, one of their top players, if not their top player, in their midfielder, Georgi Mahavlich, away in the Olympics with Team USA. Portland's gotten the upper hand versus Colorado in recent head-to-head matchups. They won 4-1 in February. They won 3-2 last year, as well as a 0-0 draw as well last year. Further back, Portland's 4-1-1 in the last 6 head-to-head meetings. Now, the odds are heavily expecting a game to be filled with goals here, which is what this does look like on paper. We just ran through a bunch of stats that predict some goals. I think the both teams to score is -260. That's a pretty juiced price for even in MLS standards, making, even if you wanted to add over 1.5 or simply Portland to score, which is things that I like to do in parlays, that's barely even worth it. I certainly could see a Portland win. They're playing at home. Colorado missing their best player. Maybe both teams to score, like we talked about. Rapids to score away from home, though, without their best player does give me some pause. Picking a winner, I pick Portland, but I will leave it out from these best bets. But just some stats for you to consider for your picks as well. But what are your picks? Be sure to share them down there in the comments, whatever you're betting in the Leagues Cup on Wednesday and Thursday this week. Drop them down there, and best of luck.